What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're going to be looking at the treasure map teams that I have built for my own personal usage. So of course, if you guys want to see more quote-unquote accessible teams, go check out my previous video that I have uploaded in regards to the treasure map against the lead performers. Make sure to go ahead and check that out for a little bit more of a rundown of what you'll know to expect for this upcoming event. So we're not going to really take too much time talking about the actual gimmicks of the boss fights, because we did that in the previous video. This one is just more talking about how my teams work in order to counter the gimmicks that are at hand. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. The first fight against Page 1, we're going to be using Stampede Luffy as our main captain because he has the captain ability to resist 10 turns of paralysis and 10 turns of despair, so those two debuffs we don't even have to worry about. We do still have the Yamato on the crew, which has the hunger potential ability to remove the hunger stacks, and we do have to deal with special bind still, and there is still resilience. So we're dealing with that with one special through the use of Garp. Garp removes a bunch of special bind on the crew, also provides chain boundary and tap timing chain bonus, which is going to be very nice so that we can do more damage. And then the Suru support does end of turn damage, so that Stampede Luffy, when we do attack with him, because we'll be using his special too to give him a massive attack and a massive orb boost, considering that the boss is an int boss, Stampede Luffy is going to absolutely decimate this fight. I don't expect to change this team throughout the entire duration of this event. If we do ultimately need a color affinity boost, we do have the Otama special ready to do that as well. So there's a couple of different options. We do have the Opera for wave clearing with double special launch. Going to be a really nice way to get through the stage very quickly. Okay, so now we move on to the Black Maria and Ulti fight. Now, this is the team that I feel the least confidence in. So there's just a lot of really awkward gimmicks, and there aren't really a lot of captains that I was looking at or researching about that could really help us get around this. You know, normally I like to use like Halloween Ace or V1 Kuzan to get through content really quickly, but there really wasn't a lot that I could find that would help me out in this content. So we're using Whitebeard versus Whitebeard as the captain this time. He removes 10 turns of despair as the captain, so we don't have to worry about that. We do have the support of Odin attached to him, so it's going to give him -1 cooldown when we reach the last stage, and there is special reverse to our crewmates only, and it is only 1 turn of special reverse. So I have the support of Carrot attached to Cat and Dog, so that we can use their special, which will give us a massive attack boost and a color affinity boost, as well as reducing everyone's cooldown by 1. So it should allow us to use the Whitebeard special, which will give us a full board of tandem slots and a chain boundary effect. So this team doesn't have an orb boost, but it has a good chain boundary, it has an attack boost and a color affinity boost. Ultimately, we can go ahead and use the Law special if need be. I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be completely ready when we reach the last stage. And then in terms of the bind, which we haven't talked about, we have the 2 supports of Halloween Ace on Luffy, as well as Corazon on Trafalgar Law, to remove that bind that's inflicted on the left column of our squad. And then as well, the attack down that's inflicted to the crew, Cat and Dog will actually remove that as well with their special ability. So there's multi-purpose usages for these specials that I've selected, and we have Zorojuro to wave clear the first 2 stages. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to stick with this team moving forward. I may have to wait and see what other people in the community are building for this specific fight. I know some people are opting to use Gear 5 Luffy as their captain for this quest, but we end up using him a little bit later because he's just so good against the boss stages that I ended up using him there too. Next, we're going to have Sasaki, and this is not really too crazy because the recommended units for the Sasaki fight are so efficient that I just decided to go and end up using them. So we've got Frankie, which deals with the special reverse. He deals with the chain attack down as he gives us the perfect 3.5 chain that is really good for this quest, and he removes the 6 turns of defense up on the enemy side of the field. So Frankie's a no-brainer, I feel. Just dealing with reverse, you know, the chain and then the defense. And then Sanji Judge, we're going to be using double Sanji Judge, their switch ability, removing the special bind on themselves, and then removing the paralysis with their special, as well as giving a very good orb boost, as well as generating those tandem slots. Now the thing is to get the most out of this quest, you ideally want the super swap, and it is annoying because they charge the super swap by 5 swaps instead of 6, so you do have to do 1 additional swap before reaching the final stage. It's very, very frustrating. If you do find the hidden boss, it will be fully charged by the time you're able to get that to the last stage. But it's just really annoying, so we're going to have to use 1 turn to do a swap and then to go ahead and do our wave clears. Wave clearing this time is with this limited rare recruit Akainu, double special launch with a really good AoE focus special, and he's also a powerhouse unit, so he actually fits with the squad pretty well. And then the 2 units on the left hand side with Jinbei and Beppo are completely replaceable. They're literally only here because they're Sai units that work under the Judge and Sanji Captain ability. But yeah, could be replaced with basically anything you want, but it's just kind of frustrating that we have to abuse that super swap. We could use a Beppo special to charge a super swap as well, but unfortunately Beppo is not a wave clearer. He only attacks a single target, which is a little frustrating because if he was a wave clearer, it would have been absolutely perfect. And then we have the team versus Who's Who. Now, normally you'd want to use Big Mom as the captain for this quest. However, I have opted to use Dog and Cat scenario once again because I wanted to use Big Mom on one of the boss fights because she's such a high point booster that it feels a little annoying to go ahead and use such a high point booster on a mini boss fight, but that's what we've ended up doing. So we're using double Cat Viper leads with Dogstorm as a sub, so we can use the super type or the super class of Cat Viper to wave clear the first 2 stages. We also have Hiyori as a crewmate on this team, which will give us a full board of Wano slots at the start of the quest, and that will enable us to carry those full board of Wano slots to the final stage so we can ignore the interruptive slot change against Who's Who. Now, in terms of the other debuffs, we do have a limit where we can only use 2 specials for the entire run. I actually don't know if any of these units actually have the ability to remove special limit. I don't think they do. No, so we can only use 2 specials. So ideally, we'd be using the super swap of Nami and Carrot. And then we would get a resistance down on the enemy, which is great. And then, of course, we could just use the Cat special. We could use the Nami Carrot special, which will give us chain boundary and stuff. We have the Cat Viper, which gives us an orb boost. Kawamatsu gives us an attack boost. We've got the Odin support on Dog to give us a color affinity boost. Chain boost from Hiyori's support effect. And then we are using Killer. Now, the main reason why Killer is here is because of the support of Mihawk, which, when we reach the last stage, will inflict end of turn damage, which enables us to bypass the resilience of that enemy. However, now that I am thinking about it, no, it should be fine. I was just wondering because the enemy does have a barrier where you have to hit them with a Wano slot, but we're going to have a full board of Wano slots anyway, so that shouldn't be an issue. We should be able to break that barrier without too many issues, and then the end of turn damage from the support, which is attached to Killer, will enable us to bypass that resilience and get the kill. So this team should work pretty effectively. I'm not too sure in terms of the damage potential of this team, but in theory, it should work relatively well. And here we are versus the lead performers, the final boss, and with this team, we're ideally using the point booster Zoro as one of our friend captains here. So on stage 2, we're inflicted with blindness, which is just super annoying, so we're going to tank that. We're going to tank the burn that's inflicted too. And then there's 7 turns of resilience, and then there is a, we have to hit 2 perfects to break the barrier. So ideally here, we use the EX special of Luffy to enable normal attacks to bypass defensive effects, so we don't have to worry about hitting perfects to break the barrier. And then we have the Momo special, which can do end of turn damage, so that really shouldn't be that bad at all. However, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that could be a bit of an issue due to the fact that we aren't breaking the barrier with the normal attacks, which means that the end of turn damage, I think, won't activate. So we may actually have to hit perfects, which is a little frustrating. I may end up changing the ship to something that enables us to make to hit perfects a little bit more efficiently, as that will just ensure that we can actually break that barrier, making Momo's end of turn damage actually hit the enemy. So yeah, that's a very frustrating effect there. Battle 3, we have block slots. We've got the top row special bind, so obviously we'd be using Luffy and one of the Zoro specials on stage 2, just so we don't have to worry about the captains being special binded. The 6 turns of paralysis is not an issue, as we have a Zoro sub to deal with the paralysis there. The increased defense, of course, we've got Trafalgar Law and Kid with their super swap and then their special, so we can just remove the enemy's defense. The Rainbow Shield on the enemy side of the field won't be an issue either, due to the fact that we have the EX super of Luffy to make normal attacks bypass those defensive effects. So we're not going to have any orb boost on this stage, but we're going to have a very good attack boost. We're going to have a chain boundary effect activated as well. So it's not the most efficient team out there. We do have the orb boost of Doflamingo, which will trigger with Law and Kid, so that we can actually get into Kid, because this is actually a Psy boss. So we want to have Kid activated here. So Kid gets the attack boost. He'll get the orb boost from the Doflamingo because it only triggers on driven characters. and then the support of Lafitte attached to Big Mom will give driven characters a color affinity boost. So this team is basically built to ensure that Kid on the final stage is going to be hitting really hard, and that's the whole focus here. We also have the chain boosting support of Koshiro attached to Zoro, so that's going to give us more damage there too. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all works. The main issue that I see here is obviously the barrier on Battle 2 to ensure that the end of turn damage of Momonosuke is actually able to hit that resilience, enabling us to get through that stage more comfortably. And then we have our final Intrusion team, which works very comfortably. I don't see any issues with this team at all throughout the entire duration of this treasure map. It's going to be really nice, but the only thing that we'll have to wait and see about is how effective the super swaps and the swap gauge is going to be. Due to the fact that this extra island event is built the way it is, they automatically charge everyone's specials and super swaps completely to max. I don't know if that actually happens on every single version of the Intrusion fight. So sometimes the super swap gauge of Law and Kid will be full, sometimes it will not. So we may have to do some stalling, because it is actually really important that we get their super swap so that when we use the special on stage 2, we can kill those mobs and not have to worry about it at all. And then of course on the last stage we do have that support of Ushimaru giving us a full orb boost for the whole crew, which means when we use the Luffy special, we're not going to get the interrupt activated on the enemy, as well as having the Frankie support attached to Zoro to give us an attack boost, as well as we are using Law and Kid a little bit earlier on in the quest. But that is going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you guys did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.
Love it.